And we are on the air, so to speak.
Ooh, look at us.
Yeah,
I see you're in black,
of course.
as you usually are. I decided, well, go Hawks. So we
Hey,
won the
hey.
Super Bowl.
Even
Um,
I know what you're
but
talking about. Yeah,
yeah, surprisingly, eh? Did you
yeah.
watch the Bad Bunny? That must have been what got you, right?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
the whole thing was over by the time I realized it was the
It
day
was
that it
on.
happens.
So, well, because my team was in, I cared. But I went gray today, and I went with one of my um, I guess worded shirts.
Pay no
Pay no
attention,
attention to
browsing, and you're gonna
browsing
miss.
history.
Yeah.
I am a writer, not a serial killer, is what the whole thing said, which is
Yes.
probably I should wear that through the airport
Yeah.
because I'm on my way to Italy as of so our next podcast will be well, one of us will be in Italy,
Yay.
so
Well,
so
I think you'll be warmer.
it can't get much colder. I had a friend tell me it was minus 19 today.
Yeah, we had minus 25 yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
great.
and what are we at?
So
Minus 18.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, I'm glad to get out of the cold. But although somebody told me it's supposed to warm up by the end of the week, so
We have a couple of days. Like tomorrow's supposed to be -3, but 9 centimeters of snow.
it's a very Canadian conversation.
And for the rest of the world, that's 30 or 29 degrees Fahrenheit and 3.5 inches
Well,
of snow.
well, the rest of the world uses metric. It's only the Americans. So for the Americans, that's
That's true. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. For the Dark Ages people.
yeah, for those working in under another system. So
Yeah, I had a discussion with a couple of authors on Mastodon about units. Some guy said one of his beta readers said, "What is this Celsius stuff?" Because he was
oh
writing
really?
a story about Mars and trying to express how cold it was. And in the end, he wound up expressing it in relative terms, like colder than any human on Earth could tolerate. And that's that eliminates the units. Right? So that's a challenge with some of my stuff too. Um,
Which is interesting. So hmm, I would not have thought that would have been. Well, I guess if you're going for the U.S. audience, you have to go in there. And I guess I write miles, and I heard something about speaking of miles. In the U.S., I hear that they smile, but in the rest of the world, like Europe, they skilometer. So
ah,
yeah, so
okay.
sorry, I heard it. I was like, oh God, that's terrible, terrible. So,
That's bad.
but
We can
and
edit that out.
and I went to the doctor last week, and I have a problem with my elbow, and I'm like, and he goes, oh, you've got tennis elbow.
Mm,
I said, how can I have tennis elbow? And so he starts running on, do you play tennis? Do you play a lot of sports? Blah blah blah. You can get it from writing,
yep.
and not just typing. You can get it. It's anything that's a repetitive thing. You can get it from leaning on your arm when you're. So I write longhand. I do not write.
Right.
I do not type on a keyboard until later on. But I lean on one hand and write with the other. And at some point, all the writing that I have been doing lately has given me this ailment, shall we say?
Condition. Yes.
Condition, ailment.
Yes.
So I'm not happy with that. Suddenly I thought writing would be a very um injury free endeavor. I guess not. So
No.
oh well. So look out, people. If you're a longhand writer, I guess you can get it from typing too, but then you get carpal tunnel. I think is the more.
Yeah, carpal tunnel is the thing. Like, I have no idea how I've not suffered from carpal tunnel. I mean, I've been keyboarding since I was 13 hours a day.
Oh, I was shocked because he goes, oh yeah, and then he said, well, if you do a lot of writing, and I went, there it is. 'Cause not that suddenly it made it better, not that it was like, oh well, now it doesn't hurt anymore.
Right.
It
But at
still
least you have
hurts.
an excuse, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm doing the high tension writing.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I have good news, but you know what? Let's start with you this week. Last week you said you were going to finish your edit. You were adding the edits into the manuscript.
Yes.
You were doing something with Cherry Tree, and then you were going to print again.
Yeah. So Cherry Tree is just my note taking application,
Okay.
right? So everything I, whenever I need a note or when I'm summarizing a web page or a book or something, like there's lots of books I've been reading on how to write a book and market it. So I'll put all the notes down into a section in Cherry Tree, and then I can go back and review all of that when I'm actually marketing a book.
I put that in Keep, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of the same thing.
yeah, and it's nice because it's geeky. I can put code in there and have it highlighted like code. I never do, but it's got a really broad range of nerdy features that makes it attractive to me. And it's free and open source, and it runs
Yep.
on all platforms, including Linux. Right? So that's cool. In terms of getting the edits in, man, has that been interesting. Um, I'm I am 106 pages in to applying the edits that I thought was going to be the easy part of this process. But as it turns out, it's like, okay, some cases it's capitalization. It takes a few milliseconds. In some cases, it's a word change,
Yep.
and the
Sentence
word
change.
change is obviously good. Sometimes it's a word change where I dither about whether or not the first word was better than the second word, which is always fun. And then sometimes it's a wait a second, how did the guy get from this place to this place? I missed a little transition. And then I have to write that transition. So a little note, how did we get here, is, you know, 10, 15 minutes of writing.
So because I've had this happen to me before too, right? You go through the manuscript, you had pen in hand, you think you've got the sentence that you're looking for, it came to you in a dream or whatever. You read it anyway. It's all there. You're ready to go, and you're implying the edits, and you assume that's it. I'm just going to put the edits in, and then great.
Right.
Do you ever? Because I know the answer to this for me. You ever put it in and then go, I could expand on that mother. I could, oh, wait a second. I could, and then suddenly you're writing this whole new paragraph
Exactly.
and moving things around even more that you didn't do on paper. And you're like, oh, God, like this should have been easy. And then sometimes I pull in another piece of paper and I pull in a pad or something and I'm writing furiously again because I've got to, and I because I like moving. I love arrows on papers, and I'm going to town, and I'm like, should have been like a word edit. Now I've got a whole paragraph.
Yeah, or several. And I mean, the metric is, does the work improve? Right? And invariably, I think it does. Right? I haven't gone back to one of those paragraphs and said, "Oh, Jesus, I'm rambling. Like, let's cut this out. It's useless." Right?
Out at
Yeah.
some point, you're probably going to go back over it,
Oh yeah.
I remember doing that, and I was either in a writing group or somebody got a hold of it, and I expanded like they told me to.
Mm.
They said this needs to be expanded, blah blah blah, and I went okay, and I expanded it, and I had this great paragraph, and then another paragraph, three paragraphs below, like I had expanded the whole thing, and they came in and they went, and it ended up my whole paragraph ended up like being 6 words, and I said that probably explains it better, and I'm like, oh, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
I like my description better, but
I think you really have to sit back and look at when somebody does that. It's like, are they looking at it the way I want my reader to look at it, or are they looking at it like I have a friend who thinks everything I write is wordy, and to some extent it is, but she's like, you could take 60% of this out and say the same thing. It's like, yeah, but not in the same way. Like I don't want to write like Stephen King, right? I don't want the plot to be everything,
Yeah.
right? I want the prose to carry the plot and be something that people enjoy reading for its own sake.
I also love dialogue. It's one of the things I absolutely love.
Yeah, and
So
it's
a lot of my books are dialogue heavy because people are talking and
sure, and you've got I like what Brandon Sanderson had to say about show don't tell, right? It's like, okay,
yeah,
that's a good rule for a beginning writer, but once you have a understanding of the craft, then there are ways to show and tell at the same time. There's
I
times
believe
when
that's true too.
yeah, there's times when you can show something in dialogue in a fraction of the words it would take to tell it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm of that feeling. I'm also I read somewhere, and I don't know if it's true, but I did it in my last novel, where sometimes you have to have a chapter that just brings everybody back to speed.
Right.
So somebody in some way, shape, or form, if it's an intricate plot, you have like one chapter or one scene where somebody just re-explains what's going on, in a shorter version, so that everybody goes, okay, I'm back up to speed. I think I understand what's going on.
Right.
And I think sometimes that's it's a writer's technique, even for us. Like, okay, I've got to understand what I just did,
Right. Yeah.
so I'm gonna make somebody say it so that I understand what I've done and bring me back, to the next plots.
Right. And if you do it well, you're still adding. Like it's not like it used to be a fantasy long fantasy novel. There'd be chapters of character introduction with virtually no plot. And I think that's changed now. People have figured out that just this big block of here's a character, here's a character, here's a character doesn't make for exciting reading.
No,
Yeah.
no,
And I think when you're doing that kind of recap thing, you can look at events from a different character's perspective. And so you're broadening the the event. You're giving the reader a bigger understanding because somebody's looking at it from a different point of view, right?
yeah.
So,
That's kind of what you do. You told the story this way, and somebody comes in this way and says, "Oh, this is what's going on,"
right.
and you're like,
Yeah.
"That works for me."
And I'm reminded of what you see in just about every Shakespearean play, where there's somebody who comes out and delivers this long soliloquy.
Soliloquy. Yeah.
The delay in my audio is really messing up soliloquy. Anyway, and I was always frustrated in high school because I was the guy who wound up having to read that. So it's like 5 or 10 pages where you're just going blah 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 blah, and I realized that was a mechanism that allowed the actors to go backstage and change, and allow the set to change. So there's just some guy who's out there entertaining the audience while these other mechanics are happening, and then
Right.
he walks off stage and there's a new thing, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
in different clothes and blah blah blah.
You
Um,
usually exactly when I used to fall asleep. So even
exactly.
even younger, like I'd be in Shakespeare plays,
Yeah.
So I would wake up for like the second and third act, but I used to fall asleep in the first. So, which was even worse for me is I went to see uh what Phantom of the Opera many years ago, and I fell asleep in that. And then a friend of mine said, "How could you fall asleep during Phantom of the Opera? It's fabulous. I'm taking you again." I fell asleep in the exact same spot. Same spot. So really funny. And I woke up in the same spot. If you've seen Phantom, there's a part where the chandelier drops and the whole audience goes,
That
exactly
woke you
where
up.
I woke up again. So hilarious.
Did he take you a third time?
I did not go a third time because
No.
I used to love musical theater. I just at some point, I think Miss Saigon turned me off on musical theater,
Hmm.
but that's completely an aside. So we have your edits, 106 pages in.
Yeah,
Is that basically where we're at this week?
that's a third of the way in of something that I expected to finish a week ago.
And have you added words? Is there any?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
are you like
um,
really happy with what's going on, or
I I am. Let me answer the first question first. Um,
words? Got it.
let's see, tools, writing styles. Um,
I wait with bated breath.
yeah, so I'm about 730 words up
Oh,
over
good.
that period, yeah, overall.
So what does that? What does that bring you to, if you don't mind me
Oh,
asking?
I don't really know
You don't have
because
the.
this thing
Oh,
gives
just gives
me
you
a
what.
word count that includes notes and character
Oh, got
notes
it.
and all that
Okay.
kind of stuff. So it says 106,000. Wait, and it says novel word count 97, but that's also crap. Um,
So actually, you know what? The last one I have, which is December 29th, the last word count I have is you were at 72,791.
right.
So you're now definitely in the
Probably
73,000
puts me
range.
in the 73. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna write down 73. So I have good news for this week.
Excellent.
Um, I put another in the last 2 weeks. I put another 7,892 words down. I had
Beautiful.
probably what I thought was my biggest day at 1723, and that was not a it was not a cheating day. When I say that is sometimes I forget to input, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I pack 2 days into one, and then that gives me a larger word count.
Right.
But
That makes sense.
actually, I wrote on the second, third, fourth, fifth, and actually on the fifth, I finished the novel. It
Oh
is
my
done.
God.
So 82,609 words. And last week, yeah, as I said, 7,892 words to finish it. And I actually finished it on the 5th, but I didn't input it until the 9th. I wanted it to stew with me. I wanted to remain unfinished for a couple days so I could live in that world for a bit. But it's really funny because you end up talking to people on the phone. I had a friend phone me up, and I said it's a really good day when I can kill somebody in the morning. And at first he's like, I don't understand what you're talking about. And I said, well, my writing. And he's like, oh, okay. Then he phoned me up 2 days later and he says, did you kill anybody this morning? And I go, no, but I blew somebody up. He's dead, but I didn't just shoot him. I took him out in a big way.
There we
So,
go. That's funny. Um,
so yeah, and now it's gonna sit for a while while I go back to my first book and look at the stuff that Pro Writing Aid gave me as suggestions for.
okay.
I think I've got like 8 pages worth of their suggestions for the novel, and then I'm going to either resubmit or I'm finally going to publish the damn thing. Get a couple of editors involved and move it along. So
Cool.
yeah, this is the year I publish it. That's what's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah, we should
That's
talk
that's
about that
that is the big goal.
off air.
So
Cool.
so I think that and my author's website will come out this year too. But
Oh, yes. Good.
so we will see about that.
Yeah,
So
in
I'm just.
other news, I've actually put a newsletter out there. It should drop in a couple of hours. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wait, I haven't seen it yet. So
No, I wrote it yesterday and set it to transmit it a quarter to noon or something like that. So
okay,
it hits in people's inboxes about the time they're about to have lunch and might be checking their email.
all right. Yeah, I will. I have got to either get a newsletter out or something. I haven't fully figured it out, but I want to get the website done first. I think that'll be the first newsletter kind
Yes.
of thing, or the first announcement. Guess what I have?
Yeah, well, you want your newsletter to bring people to your website
Correct.
so that they can see what you're doing and
Or maybe
get more engaged.
maybe what I'll do is on Instagram, I'll say the website's up, go sign up for the newsletter, which is probably because if I think about it, I won't have anybody in the newsletter.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Yep. So there's something else I was going to say. Man, I'm scattered this morning. Um,
Yeah, I'm
dead
feeling
air.
a little scattered too. I've been packing to get away and stuff. So
Yeah.
you got things all over the house, right? You got okay, this has got to go, that's got to go, and as a working writer, knowing you're going to work when you're traveling, that's what. Let's put a let's put a little let's put a pin in that one because maybe anyway. All right. Uh, but I should talk about speaking of the hook. I think that'll be the hook for this week. We'll ask it at the end.
All right.
We should look at last week's,
Well, wait.
unless you
First,
unless you've got something more to report about your writing
well,
this
I
week.
just have one thing to say. I wrote a
Okay.
Substack post, despite Substack's Nazi affiliations. I'm ranting a bit about we see every January, February, people put out these surveys of reader behavior, right? And it's like, okay, the average person reads this many books and pays this much and all that kind of stuff. And these surveys frustrate the daylights out of me because they're across all genres. And
Okay.
it may be that the average romance reader reads 100 books a year, or like, I forget what the number was, like something like 30% read more than 100 books a year and pay an average of $3. But what about the people who are reading in your genre or mine? Do they read as many? Do they pay as much, more or less? None of that information comes out in these sort of lovely summaries about, oh, readers do this, and you should engage people with this. It's like, well, if I was writing across maybe all genres, or I was writing a meta genre thing, that might make some sense. But unless I could see something that's specific to science fiction, at least science fiction fantasy, and ideally, grounded, which is science-based science fiction. I'd really love to see the survey results for those people
Yeah,
instead.
there's a lot of general information out there that just it's. I guess it's helpful in some way, but it's not helpful in another.
It can be
And I guess
misleading. It can be
yeah, and
unhelpful. Yeah.
I've tried just over the years to look at these emails and try to decide whether they're useful to me or not. Do I join that class or not? Do I read this thing or not? And obviously, you read it and took umbrage. Uh,
I express my
and
frustration.
probably I would have gone. It's not worth my time.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, to each his own
Well,
on whatever they're going to read.
what I would like is for some of these people to make their data sets open, like anonymize it so we don't know who responded.
Yeah.
If they probably don't know anyway, but let me at that data set, and I can subset the genre that I need, and I can produce a report that's relevant for people writing fantasy and science fiction, or ideally even more narrow into my subgenre. And I'd be happy to publish that and credit the people who collected the data and give them the links and do all that kind of stuff, right? Like, that would be useful to me and useful to other people. If you were a data analyst, you could grab it and do the same with mystery. And I'm sure there's writers out there who are writing mystery who are capable of doing the analysis, right? So,
I know that I don't read. I read if I get 12 or 15 books a year, I'm very happy. I'm a slow
right.
reader. I know that. I you know, I probably write faster than I read,
Exactly.
which is really weird, I guess. And I understand, you got to keep up, blah blah blah. But I have also, because I have a Kobo, I'll buy the books for a certain price. I have a price limit in my head that I'm willing to pay for these books. Some of them I read and I'm like, why am I reading this? It's terrible. Why do I like I read the last no offense to your Lee Child. I love Lee Child's books. I think they were great. But the last one I read I was like, I think he's lost it on this one. He's
Mm.
lost me on this one. I read it because I like the Reacher series, but I was like, this is not his best. This one,
Uh-huh.
and how there are times that I'm like, how did this book get published? And I know how it got published. Lee Child wrote it. It's a Reacher
Right.
novel. They know it's going to sell. Obviously, I bought it.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but wasn't his best. He's done much better, and sadly, it's you know. And I thought to myself, I could have done better than that one.
Right.
There's many that I go, he's got it. This one's great. This one, I was like, I think I could have plotted that one a little better. But that's I think the part about being a published, well-known author is I think it's easier to get even your less good stuff published.
All the publisher cares about is will people buy
Right.
the book, right?
Hmm.
And
Correct. And
you
he's
bought
got a
his
name.
book.
He's got a name. Correct. I bought his
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I look forward to I look forward to owning it. I look forward to buying it. The moment I didn't buy it when it first came out. I waited, I guess, the year it goes to a sale price of under 10, and I go, I'm in, or
Right.
12 or whatever, and I go, I'm in. I won't pay 26 for it, but I'll pay I'll pay 10
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, I guess
so
unless you have a sequence of stinkers, it's always going to, like, his next book might be something you really enjoy,
right,
right?
correct.
And you're going to buy it, not like this book isn't going to put you off him forever, right?
No,
Yeah.
no. I already have the next 5 books, right? So
Right.
I know I buy it.
Yeah.
Same thing with David Baldacci is another favorite of mine, and I buy his stuff as it comes out. I don't read it as fast, but I mean I know he's going to be enjoyable. There was one of his characters that I was like, I'm not really into this guy, but sadly I did buy the second book in the series. You know, so because I'm like I'm hoping it gets better.
Yeah.
So hope springs eternal, even for writers
There we go.
and readers. So last week I left you with the because I wrote a short story, and I had to stop writing my own novel to write a short story, and I do want to preface this with something I discovered in my writing program. I like using the ellipse every so often.
Okay.
Do you use the ellipse?
Yeah. Pretty much when in dialogue, when somebody is pausing to think about what they're going to say next, or when they're about to change what they're going to say, and
Do you attach it to the word, or do you leave it on its own?
attach.
You attach it, so if the last word is park, you would then not leave a space and go dot dot dot.
Right.
Okay. Do you ever just use a dot 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 in the middle of things, or no? Where
Rarely.
it's unattached to a word and it's space space dot dot dot, moving on.
Nope. That's an M dash. Yep.
Okay.
And I
So
detest that the typography convention is no spaces around an M dash. Drives me freaking crazy, but you know.
okay. So I use that occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last thing I wrote for or I do these NYC midnight flash fiction things.
Right.
And I ran one of my stories through my program is Dabble, and I wrote it and I put it through Dabble, and it said I was at 500 words exactly, and I went great. Now what they do is they take your writing and they put it through Word and or um, Google Docs to do your word count.
Right.
And it came back and it said you were dinged a point that they liked the story. Like reading the feedback, they liked the story, but they said you were dinged for being one word over. I was at 501, and I couldn't figure it out. I went to Dabble and blah blah blah. Anyway, so when I wrote this story, Dabble was 5 words less than what Word was and what
Mm,
Docs was. And I could not for the life of me figure it out. So I wrote the Dabble people and I said, what is going on here? Why are you so much different
right.
than Word or Docs? And they sent me back screenshots. The Dabble counts words.
Right.
Word and Doc, if you leave an ellipse, or as you call it, a whatever, they count that as a word. So I
Right.
was punished because I had an ellipse or your M dash or whatever.
Yep.
And it's too late for me to do anything now, but I was a little bit surprised that they don't take that into account. But I guess they don't have time to. So for anybody out there who is in a competition or looking for words, be careful if you are using the M dash.
Well, the
It can be
Word
counted
and
as a
Google
word.
algorithms are probably just counting the number of things delimited by spaces.
It
So
could be.
the the tip there is if you want to reduce your word count is put in an M dash with no spaces.
Like, yeah. So I was a little shocked by that. But anyway, going on. So what? Pausing to write something else. Easy, difficult, pain in the ass. What do you ever stop to write like a short story as opposed to your novel, or are you always concentrated on your novel? You can see I'm
I'm
getting ready to go to Italy because now I'm starting to talk with my hands.
so um, I think when I was stuck on this one, like after I got my draft zero done and was really not happy with it and didn't know where the hell it was going, I started to outline the next book, and that was more frustration with this than anything else. And I was in a fairly deep learning cycle, reading a lot of books on story structure and things like that. And once the light bulb went on with this one, I I haven't touched it since. Right, but
So, but I guess what I'm asking is not looking at your next book, like your next one in the series, if that's what it's going to be.
no.
I'm talking about writing something completely different. Like now you're out of your novel, and now you've got to go write a short story about um, toucans.
Yeah.
Or
Um, I wind up having ideas for short stories, but I'm
yeah,
not really
I have a note taking app that I put those in. Yeah,
I'm not really a big short story writer. So I'll have an idea kind of bouncing around in my head, and if it really goes somewhere, I'll make a few more notes. So there's a folder that I've got with notes on possible short stories. But that's as far as it's gone. It's like, oh, you could write something about this where this happens. Done.
you know what? I always believe that anything I start is just going to be a probably a short story. I'm like, I don't think I've got a novel in me. I don't have maybe I have a novella. Maybe I can take a short story out of it. And then next thing you know, I've written 82,000 words, I guess that was a novel. I didn't see that coming. And that's what the current novel I just finished was. It was going to be I would just have these characters in mind, and I thought, or actually something happened to me while the last time I was in Italy, and I thought, well, this is a nice vineyard. It'd be nice if there was a body outside the door. Um,
It would be nice
that's
if
the way
there
my
was a
mind
body.
works. I'm sorry. Uh, but I'm like, "Hey, this body would be in this vineyard, and boy, would that make for a good story. Maybe I'll just tell a short one." And next thing you know, it got intricate, and people started showing up, and the party began, and lo and behold, people were shot, people were in the hospital, and now I'm like, well, now I've got to, figure this one out. Can't just leave people sitting in the hospital without, telling why they're there and how they're going to do this and that. So yes, that got there. For me, um, I don't like going to something else to write. Um, eh, but and I feel I'm cheating on my novel. It's
Mm,
weird. It's like I'm going out with another girl, but I have one at home who's, she's waiting to be finished, and that one, and you're suddenly out with another girl trying to, woo her, but this one's, getting. I hate the analogy suddenly where I am with this, but I mean, you're getting the idea. You feel
right,
like you're cheating on your novel.
right. Yeah, I think if I was going to try to use a different analogy, it's sitting there asking to be finished,
Correct.
and
Yes.
you're not finishing it, right?
Correct. You've suddenly decided that something else is more important. But I only had a week to write it, or a weekend when these
Right.
when these competitions show up.
Yeah,
And I tried to finish it before the competition, but I never made it. I just couldn't do it.
right. I have that to a sort of in a different extent because there's all these other things that I'm doing, right? So I spent a lot of time last week doing stuff related to my little 3D printing business, right?
Yeah.
And that sucked up several days, and there's customers to talk to and all that kind of stuff. And one part of me is I'm sort of neglecting the writing part, and this project's been going on for years and years and years, and I'd really like to close it, right? I, spoiler, my newsletter quotes something from software development, where, managers always used to say, the project's 90% done, now it's time to start on the second 90%.
Yeah,
Because
that's
these projects always look like they're close to being done, but there's a pile of other stuff that takes more time than you expect. And
yeah, and I
God
think
damn it,
in
it's the same with novel writing.
in writing, yes, it would be. It's not just the writing, because I would prefer to just sit and write all the time. But there is
Right,
that next phase that you have to go through. You have to do some marketing for it. You have to do the
right,
editing. You have to get the developmental editor involved. You have blah 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 blah. There's so much to do after you finish the novel that it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I think to myself, why do I bother writing? I don't want to be part of the other part, but I want people to read this because I'm like, this is
right.
good. It's really good. I'd love people to read this. But there is that other 90% after I finish the 95% or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, it feels like the first draft is 90%, but really, there's a second draft. There's editing. There's all these other things that have
yeah,
to happen,
there's so many
even
things
before
that
you get
have
to
to be
market,
done.
right? Like,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
it's got its pieces, each of
And
which
then
look like
and
it's
then
the whole
then it
thing.
has its own problems while we're at that too.
Exactly. Yeah. So
So
you need to be a
that's
masochist.
that's why I sit there and I am I'm I'm trying to think how I'm going to get this published this year, and you know what, you and I are probably going to have to do a little chatting about the
Yep.
best place to publish, and one of us is going to have to take the big leap and fork out the dough and learn for the other. I keep hoping it's going to be you, but something tells me it's going to be me.
Well, I've spent an awful lot of time learning what I want to do with this, and I'm more than happy to share the knowledge with you. Yeah,
I can be the guinea pig, I guess, as they say.
yeah, and that's a long conversation we should talk about.
So,
Off air.
your
Yeah,
goals for next time? Finish those edits. I'm assuming. Am I correct?
yeah, yeah. I at the rate I'm going, I don't know if I'm confident they'll be done in 2 weeks.
Oh, well, you got to give yourself a goal. So,
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I'd love to have it done in a week, but I'm a third of the way through and 2 weeks in. Now,
mine.
it
I've
does
got
get
like
easier as I go along because my notes are less extensive, and so hopefully I'll accelerate.
really quickly,
Yeah,
and then I'm gonna hook you for next week.
right.
Really quickly, do you find that the notes that you have more notes for the beginning of your novel than you do for the end or where you're sitting? The more recent stuff you've written. You know what I mean?
Um,
So let's say
yeah,
6 months ago you wrote the first part, and you just finished writing your last few chapters a few weeks ago. I'm just
Right.
giving some example. Do you find you have more notes from the 6 months or from the more recent stuff?
Um, Absolutely for the beginning,
Yeah. Okay.
because
So it's not just me. Oh, good.
no, I've grafted in two subplots to this thing, and so there's stuff where it's like, oh wait, I can foreshadow this, I can do this. I know
Yeah.
more about the characters now than I did when I was writing stuff at the beginning, so I can say, um, this is where his character starts to change, or I can do something to reinforce where he is there, or give some insight into what he or she are thinking, and so there's those kind of real, those I call them second draft notes, right?
Yeah.
I'm not fixing that in this pass. I'm going to get this stuff in. I'm going to print it without all those comments, read it through, hopefully not make any more changes or many more changes. And I think even if I do have more edits, I'm going to put them aside and I'm going to finish the damn thing, and then maybe print those pages, go do an edit round, and then it goes off to a real editor.
So I remember one writer quoting another writer. I think it was Stephen Carver. I could be wrong on the name. He wrote the Emperor of. Anyway, it doesn't matter. He said no piece of writing is ever finished. The discipline is to know when to stop,
Right.
and
Yeah.
because you can edit forever, and that's where I think. And I know that I just told you the book is finished at 82609. In my first edit, I could almost guarantee you I'm going to add at least 10 to 20%
Right.
more
Right.
words.
Yeah.
Just as you said, filling out things that I probably glossed over. Now that I know the end, now that I know where the book went, now everything I can fill in those and foreshadow and do those things that I didn't know, because you're writing from a plan. I'm writing from walking in the room,
Right.
so I
Yeah.
I have no plan whatsoever. So to conclude this one, I'm going to lay the hook for next
Okay.
week. You do a lot of traveling, or you don't do a lot of traveling?
Not a lot. I
Well,
have
this is
traveled,
going to
but not recently.
okay, but you've done travel as a writer when you were
Um,
writing.
I don't even understand the question.
You're a writer now. You
Yes.
were a writer in the past, but you had more, you know, day job. Now that you consider yourself a writer,
Right.
do you do any traveling where you're either overnight or a couple of weeks, or you go to Mexico, let's say?
No, I haven't been out of the country for 15 years.
All right, well then somehow this hook is not as good as I thought it was going to be. So, working while traveling, can you get it done?
Ah.
As somebody who's heading off to Italy for a couple of months, working while traveling, is it possible, or is it something that everything gets laid to the back burner, and it'll take care of itself when you get back?
Well,
So,
I know
what's your
how I'll react to that question.
all
So
right?
yeah,
Good,
yeah,
good. I
yeah.
look forward to hearing that then.
Cool.
So
All
there
right.
you go. That's the hook for next week, and I wish you luck in finishing your editings,
Well, thank you very much.
because I really want to see you move on
Oh,
and get this thing. I want to bring it home.
you
The
know,
Italy thing is coming right out. I'm already.
it's a weird experience reading my own stuff. Uh, in some places, it's like, hey, this is pretty good. In other places, it's like, okay, this is all right. But overall, I'm pretty happy with what's there. And it's like, Jesus, I'm doing this. Like, and it's not awful.
See, you
And
too could have
that
read a
makes me
Jack
want to
Reacher novel.
finish it and get it out there. You know.
Perfect. All right.
All right.
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
You got it.